Hello, this is Dr. Bosworth again. This week we're going to talk about television. What we really need to talk about first, though, is sort of that visual media coming out of motion pictures. You first have, well, obviously, television also comes out of radio too, being that the companies really that develop the television industry are the ones operating the radio networks. But television really does come out, another part of it really does develop out of the motion picture industry. So we really should look at that to begin with. Um, Movies, basically, to start with, were primarily an entertainment medium. They really developed in the late 1800s. You have Edison developing the kinetoscope, which basically was a way of projecting still photographs, but in a sequence. Um, and so that developed through that area. Then Louis and Auguste Lumiere develop a more portable camera system and projection system that allowed a little bit more to be recorded, a little bit, things easier to be recorded because the camera was more portable. You get different eras of the movie picture era, or of the movie picture industry. The silent era running from the early 1900s through the 1920s. Sound gets added in, and then color gets added in not too long after that. You get the Hollywood moguls and sort of the Hollywood, the star and starlet era. Most actors and actresses signed on with production companies, so you'd have a contract with a movie studio, and you could only make movies for that movie studio if you were an actress or an actor and actress. That really got beat down not too long after that era, where a actor or actress really did have control of their own talent. But today you have the large studios, which are usually part of a larger media company. Sony owns studios. Time Warner owns studios. The Warner Brothers. Disney owns movie studios. So, and all of those companies own other types of media industries, whether that's television, cable, radio, print media. So the media industry really has consolidated into ownership across lots of different media types. And the same things that are affecting television today are affecting the movie industry. Digitization, streaming, all of these different sorts of things that movies that are affecting movie theater attendance. I just saw a news segment on how the first real big movies this year are all female dominated movies, where the leading character really is a female. And one of the things that that some experts are attributing to that is females are a little bit more loyal in going to the media. Males have other things that they would rather do, computers, digital streaming. They're waiting for that one picture that really grabs their attention. They're not as loyal. So the male-dominated pictures out this year haven't done as well. Um, what's the business model? The business model for the movie industry is, again, trying to get as many people in seats into a theater. Distribution to the theaters. You usually have a rollout to maybe a few select markets and then a national release of a movie. Um, and again, things that are affecting that are digital streaming later on, um, being able to catch movies not too long after they're in the theaters a few months later on things like Netflix and stuff like that. So it you get issues where people might not be going to the theater as much as they used to. Um, and digitization, not only for getting, say, like through Netflix, but also digital delivery to the theaters. No longer are you really sending these large movie reels of film. What you're doing is you're having theaters download the movies and showing them on digital projection systems. It wasn't too long, though, that lots of theaters, small theaters, were having a hard time coming up with the funds to be able to do that. But that really is, it's a way of saving money because now the production companies, the studios, don't have to produce all of these film reels to send around the country. One digital download or one digital function and you can download, all theaters can download that, so it saves money. It does shift costs to the theaters, though. um, Other things that really are moving in that era is well, moving that over to television. um, Television really is being affected by the internet and just use of new types of content delivery. The average viewer still spends about 4 hours a day watching, 4 to 5 to 6 hours a day watching television. Now that obviously varies among the type of individual. Older retired people are going to watch a little bit less, younger people a little bit, or a little bit more. Older people watch a little bit more, younger people a little bit less. Young kids will probably watch a little bit more. I think it's estimated that over a person's lifetime, about 11, they'll spend about 11 years watching TV of some sort. And now we have to really decide on what is TV. Is it the old model of watching broadcast TV off of an antenna? Or is it cable? Or what is that? And what physically is a TV? Um, is it a big clunky thing that you put in your living room? Or can it be a computer where you're able to access the internet and cable content? So, and is that thing in the room that you might get your TV signal on, but you're also able to get a computer on? So the idea of what a television is changing. Um, Almost 100% of American households have at least one TV, and most of those have at least two televisions. I know I live by myself, and I've downgraded. I took one out of my bedroom because I never watch it. I've got an old one in another bedroom that's never used. I'll probably get rid of that. And I've got a one in the family room downstairs in the lower level, and one in the living room upstairs. So I've got two TVs, and I'm all by myself. So again, you can only watch one at a time. Well, I guess I could have both of them on and run between the two, but that seems kind of silly. But I know families where if you've got a family, there's one in the living room, they've got one in the kitchen. Each kid has one. The parents have one in their bedrooms. So yeah, I mean, lots of households have several TVs in them now. It used to be television viewing was a family exercise. Everybody would gather around the TV and watch one thing. Now it's almost an individual thing. Everybody scatters to their own room and watches what they want to watch. So that makes measuring television audiences more difficult. Because it used to be that you could just Nielsen could come in, AC Nielsen in the rating system could come in and hook up their system to one TV and know what that household is watching. That doesn't work anymore. So that's something that has to be factored in there. What are some of the things that are affecting television now? Around 2009, television signals started to go really digital. They started to be able to, or the FCC really kind of started to mandate that all broadcast signals had to be digital. And that really does help the electromagnetic spectrum be able to kind of squeeze out more in a single bandwidth. You can get more information in a single bandwidth than with the old analog signals. So now you can broadcast more content in a single bandwidth or frequencies, I guess is what I'm looking for. And obviously, most people are starting to go away from the old big vacuum tube TVs and going to the flat screen digital high definition televisions now. That's going to keep moving more and more as those old TVs just kind of fall apart. I mean, the one I have downstairs is an old big one, and the only reason why I haven't switched it out is because it's heavy as anything, and I'm not going to try to pick it up by myself. So that's another area that's moving. The different ways that television are broadcast now or distributed. You still do have the old broadcast television model with local channels broadcasting in a local defined area, and that's the way that the broadcast networks reach local areas. The local stations own that broadcast right, and the networks pay the local stations to broadcast the network signal. There are obviously in some bigger areas some independent television stations in large metropolitan areas that aren't affiliated with a network. In addition to broadcast TV, which is free over the air, you have cable television that you can access those broadcast channels, but then you have a choice of different types of cable networks that you can get to that are only distributed on cable or through some sort of subscription television service, whether that's cable or satellite. Things such as ESPN and Spike TV and CNN. You can only get those if you're paying for some form of distribution through a cable or satellite system. And those models vary too. You have the ones that are basically what they might call basic or advanced cable services or enhanced, where you get a package of something that has like ESPN and CNN, Spike TV and those, and then you get the ones that are a little bit more pay-per-view like HBO and stuff. So models on cable television are there, and satellite's the same thing, except you don't have a cable coming into your house. Things like Direct TV or Dish TV, rather than putting a cable in your house, they put a small satellite dish on your in your yard or on your roof or whatever, and you get the cable system or you get the programming that way. Cable's come a long way since the 1960s and 1970s, when it was really developed to deliver TV to hard to reach areas for broadcast signals. Today, I'd say about 85–86% of American households have some sort of subscription television service. But that's starting to decline. Since probably since the recession that started in 2007, people have found that they just don't want to pay for cable. So they're going to internet services and using things like Hulu or Netflix to get their programming that way. And it was just released that a lot of the services that work through cable systems are now having offering digital subscriptions through the internet, so you can pay for a cable channel on a single source basis. Say you want to watch ESPN, I think is one of them. You can subscribe to ESPN and stream it over the internet. I'm still a little questionable on how much money you would actually save on that. So if, say, you want ESPN, CNN, Spike TV, and a few others. Let's say the Food Network and I can't think anything else right now. Say you have 6, and each one costs you $6. That's $36 a month just for those channels. And then you can put an antenna on your roof, and you can pick up the local channels also for free, which are always going to be there. But still, I only pay $14 more than that for cable, and it's nothing special. It's sort of the enhanced cable. I don't get the digital whatever, but still, I get a lot more than 6 channels. Now, a lot of them I don't watch, granted, but I still get those. It's still only $14 more, and I'm going to get everything else, including AMC, including Turner Movie Classics, including A&E or whatever. So I get a lot more channels, and it's not that much more. And you still have to pay for the internet service to get those into your house. So I'm not sure really if you sat down and really thought about it, but that's just me. Again, I'm an old fart, so that's really looking at where those industries are looking. Again, most of these channels do sell advertising, so they're really reliant on television ratings and audiences. But it can't just be a large audience. It also has to be the right audience. Most of the networks, whether they're broadcast or cable networks, are reliant on attracting the right individual, and they go after an audience. ESPN probably skews a little bit more men, but obviously towards the sports enthusiast. Food Network probably skews a little bit women, but anybody who likes cooking. CNN, probably adults, but that are very interested in news. So you get those kinds of very specific audiences. They're not large audiences, but they're very targeted. So that's one thing that if there's advertising on the network, then they have to know the audience and how large it is. So Nielsen and any kind of audience measurement service is still going to be important in that industry. But again, a lot of things are moving towards those other services such as Netflix, Hulu, and that area. So that is drawing down broadcast cable audiences. But I think I read recently that Nielsen is going to try to start measuring those audiences too. So that's really where television is moving. But you really have to, again, think about what is television. Kind of the same way we looked at radio. What is radio today? The industry or the technology is changing. So what was television 30 years ago is not, or 40 years ago, really isn't television today, because the industry and the technology is changing. So that when we say television 10 years from now, it'll look totally different, but it'll still be television. So just think about that, and think about how you use television today.